Here's your shot at winning $1,000. Text the national keyword credit right now to 95819. That's CREDIT to 95819. We'll text you back to confirm your entry. Data and messaging rates may apply. Please don't text and drive. It's $5K a day on WMAL. Now on 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app. O'Connor and Company.
7:07, October 2nd, day 2 of this version of the government shutdown. You're listening to O'Connor and Company. Thanks for tuning in. Coming up at 7:35, Byron York of the Washington Examiner will join us. Wait for it. Sorry, I wanted to make sure that power cord came through. You don't want to talk over Slash. At 8:05, Alex Pfeiffer will be our guest. It's Larry O'Connor with Carrie Lukas, who is known as the Slash of Independent Women's Forum. Good morning, Carrie.
Good morning.
Joining us right now, she's more of the Axl Rose of the Republican Party of Virginia. She's the chairwoman of the Fairfax GOP, Katie Gorka. I can't keep the Guns N' Roses references going, Katie, so take it from here.
Larry O'Connor, you are so funny. Good morning.
Well,
it's another great day in Virginia.
Is it, though? So tell me. I mean, because we're in the middle of the early voting season, culminating with Election Day coming up, 4 weeks from today? Am I counting right?
That sounds about right, yeah.
Are you able, or not today, 4 weeks from 2 days ago, are you able to get a good gauge on how early voting is going on a party basis? Because I know they're not counting the ballots or releasing the results of those counts, but you've got to have a good handle on who's showing up to vote early.
Yes, absolutely. Well, and I know everybody's excited because in the Virginia's traditionally red counties, early voting numbers are very strong for Republicans and low for Democrats, which is good news. And honestly, it's not surprising. What I cannot believe is every day the Democrats have some terrible news story about them. I don't know if you saw Jason Mayaris's incredible report last week about our Commonwealth's attorney, Steve Descano. That was just so damning of how poorly Descano is serving the, residents of Fairfax County. Really terrible.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, listen, he refuses to bring charges against Richard Cox, this multiple convicted sex offender who even Arlington County recognizes that he needs to be prosecuted for going into a girl's locker room and exposing himself in front of an 11-year-old girl. But Steve Descano seems to think, well, he does identify as a woman, so who are we to judge?
I know. It's incredible. Okay, and now my latest favorite, Jay Jones, who's running for Attorney General in Virginia. The story comes out yesterday. A couple years back, he was caught speeding 116 miles an hour, okay? 46 miles over the speed limit. And what did he have to do? Public service for his own PAC. That's
insane.
Isn't it? I know.
Katie,
I'm telling you.
Yeah, Katie, I saw that he's trying to defend himself. Oh, that was, way back in the past. And I looked it up and it was 2022. So we're talking about, this wasn't like, the way old days
3 years ago.
Kid. It was like, no, this was like yesterday. And like, you're an adult, man. That's not a long time. What are you doing?
I know. Isn't that crazy? And I mean, I just, this is not what people want from their leadership. So I think it's been really an interesting election season. You've been watching Winsome Sears just climbing up in the polls. She started out at the beginning of the summer 17 points down, then at 1.7, then at another point only 5, and then just, I think yesterday or the day before, Newsweek comes out and says she's only down 3 points in the polls now. So watch out. I think it's really exciting.
Yeah, it's definitely a momentum shift here. There is a lot of money involved in this, Katie Gorka. We know that Abigail Spanberger has very, very full campaign coffers if she hasn't spent it all. She certainly raised a ton. Interestingly, the majority of the money has come from either out of state or from the District of Columbia. Virginia donors actually rank third compared to those two other areas, out of state or D.C. specific. How's the money situation, and are you getting support from the National Committee, from the RNC, for the final sort of targeting of voters and the data collection and all the things that you need to get this thing done?
Well, so the RNC doesn't typically weigh in those ways. I was super excited to see that the Republican Governors Association just donated $4 million to Winsome's campaign, which is huge news.
Well, that's a sign of confidence,
also,
too. They're not going to throw money at a losing concern.
No, absolutely. They'd only given her, I think, $500,000 before that. And so that's also a sign that there's momentum. I know. I think it's shocking that Spanberger has brought in so much out-of-state money. And it's just a sign. I'm telling you, the radical left, the Democrats, have targeted Virginia. They want Virginia, and they are pouring tons of money in it to try to get it because they know it's important. Virginia's influential. You got a lot of federal workers here. You know, we're right next door to Washington, D.C. They want Virginia.
Katie, any concern about how the shutdown is going to impact the kind of the dialogue here about Virginia's future?
I think it's going to be tough on elections here because we do have so many federal workers in Fairfax County. I've heard an estimated 55,000. But I think we just need to keep talking about how absurd it is what the Democrats are holding out for. What they want $500 million for NPR, and they want to be able to give health care to illegals. They're shutting down the government over that? Are you kidding me?
Well, I mean, if Virginia voters are impacted by the government shutdown, either as federal employees or as contractors who work at the behest of the government, and they are feeling the pain because of this shutdown, if they want to take it out on a candidate, they should take it out at Abigail Spanberger. It's her party who has shut down the government.
100%, Larry. Such a good point. Yep, absolutely.
So what do you think the final closing message is going to be here in the last 4 weeks from any of the candidates, whether it's Reed or Earl Sears or Miyares?
Well, Miyares is obviously going strong on the law and order. He has been such a good law and order attorney general, and this is one of the areas where the left is really failing, and it's an issue that voters really care about. So I think you're going to keep hearing about that. And education is huge.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll just mention, if I can, tomorrow night, actually, there is a town hall in Fairfax with Winsome Sears where it's going to be a chance for parents to come talk about their concerns about education. I'll be there. It's being hosted by Moms for Liberty, which is a great group. We just have seen consistently parents across the board are concerned about education. And it's not just, it's both the crazy kind of social engineering stuff and progressive policy, but it's also just the way our schools are failing. And so much money is being spent, and it's not resulting in better performance for students. So this is a big concern.
All right, October 3rd, tomorrow night, Winsome Earl Sears and Katie Gorka. Free tickets, by the way. This is a town hall at the, is it Sherwood Community Center? Is that right?
Sherwood, in Fairfax. Yep.
All right, excellent.
Yep.
And Jay Jones, they're now trying to cover up this. Listen, let's face it, we all sometimes go past the posted speed marks, and right? I mean, it happens. But 100 and what was it? 118 miles an hour?
116, I think.
116 miles an hour, and he wants to be the Attorney General of Virginia. That's unbelievable. First of all, I'm impressed that traffic was so light that he could go that fast because, let's face it, it's Northern Virginia. The good news is, Katie Gorka, that Jay Jones has now come up with a new campaign theme song that he's going to be playing. You want to hear it?
Yes.
Here, let's go.
Go Speed Racer, go. He's off and flying as he guns a car.
There you go. I mean, that's at least he's owning it. I kind of like that. Jay Jones. He's no, but listen, if he is the Attorney General, he'll certainly get to his appointments very quickly.
There you go.
All right. Thank you, Katie. Hang in there.
Your next $1,000 could be one text away. It's $5K a day on WMAL.
I don't want it lost in the mix that he was arrested and he worked out a sentence for going 116 miles an hour to do 500 hours community service, and the community service was at his own political action committee.
It's insane.
Literally self-serving.
Yeah.
All right. Jay Jones. He's a Democrat. What can I tell you?
There you go.
Democrats.
The rules don't apply.
Critter news here. It's sad critter news. I don't know why I'm so, bubbly and excited about this, but Jane Goodall has passed away. Jane Goodall, of course, is famous for living with gorillas, I guess, right?
That's basically it. It's in a nutshell.
I mean, we've all seen the movie, Gorillas in the Mist. It's a Sigourney.
Sigourney Weaver.
I'll be honest. I had a crush on Sigourney Weaver when I was a pubescent male when that movie came out. She was kind of hot. It sort of made me think, I'll go hang in the jungle with her. Let's go. Then the actual Jane Goodall, I mean, lovely woman.
Sure.
She's no Sigourney Weaver.
Okay.
Just saying.
Yeah,
it's not really for you to.
That's true.
It's not for you to judge, I
it's
suppose.
outside of my area of expertise, Larry.
But she obviously world famous for being a primatologist in the 60s and really brought attention to how chimps and apes lived by going and living with them and observing them, and they sort of took her in as one of their own, right? At the end of the day.
Yeah, kind of an amazing story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not to speak ill of the dead. But she was kind of weird.
It's an eccentric decision of a way to spend your life, that's for sure.
I guess going to live, I mean, obviously she was an enthusiast. She was dedicated. She took this up as her cause. Okay. But she said things like, here's my problem. I'll just cut to the chase. She sort of reached a point where she was equating chimps and apes with human beings. Like, they're just like us. They should be treated just like us. They're just as intelligent as us. And I know there's something about looking at chimps and apes, and obviously you see some similarities depending on where you are on the theory of evolution and what have you. But it's a very, very dangerous world when you start saying they're just like us. They're just as intelligent as us. They can do everything. They're not like us. They're animals. We're humans. And that rhetoric from her was always kind of weird and off-putting to me.
And you certainly don't need to go there to think that people or that animals should be treated with dignity and not be exploited. And it's a species worth preserving and protecting. You don't need to pretend that they're actually just like humans.
Right. And when you get to that point and you start, equating animals with humans and not making that very important moral distinction between the two, you end up embracing really anti-human policies. So not only was she a champion of primates and wanting to protect them from hunters and what have you, but she ended up embracing, the myth of overpopulation. Her opinion was there were too many humans on the planet and we'd be much better off without them. It's like, okay, well, you volunteer then.
Yeah.
That always disturbs me too.
Yeah.
So
she lived a good long life, died at 91.
Yeah.
It's an interesting figure in her passing.
You're doing your best to not slip into my mistake here of speaking ill of the dead within 24 hours of her death. Well, listen, she was outspoken.
Yeah.
She took very, I believe, controversial positions on the environment and overpopulation. And so, everyone gets their legacy and obituary written by those who either agree with your positions or don't agree. So by being outspoken and out there, she has to realize that those who disagree might, as her epitaph or as after she dies, to point out those differences that they had.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yep.
Did I mention how much I liked Sigourney Weaver?
There you go. That may be the real legacy.
Exactly.
Really good Sigourney Weaver movie.
Chris March replied and on X and gave some of her quotes that she's given in the end. She was feted and celebrated by groups like the World Economic Council, the Davos crowd, right? She said things like, "My job is giving people hope. If I'm allowed to change a few things, if I just had this magic power, I would like to, without causing any pain or suffering, reduce the number of people on the planet. Because there's too many of us. It's a planet of finite resources, and we're using them up." So she's literally the supervillain in the Marvel's Avengers Endgame story. She's Thanos. She'd like to just snap her fingers with the magic glove and wipe out a significant portion of our population.
And this just doesn't seem like a good strategy for her cause, because obviously making that case is not winning many hearts and minds to those people on the middle. If you say that that's what it's going to take to protect the apes or the gorillas or whatever it was, that I don't know. You're not going to go there. We're not going to reduce the population by millions of people.
Yeah, imagine if somebody said, there are too many chimps and apes and gorillas on the planet and we should reduce them. She would call you a demon.
Of course.
But when she says it about humans, she's in some way virtuous. No, actually, that's pretty demonic too. That said, rest in peace, Jane
rest
Goodall.
in peace. Yes, for sure.
This is your Critter News for the day. It's 7:23. Now, all these women who live with gorillas are the same, aren't they?
Are there more than one?
Apparently, Julie Gunlock, who is listening on her day off, tells me that it's Diane Fossey, who was murdered by a poacher. I do remember that part of the movie. That's right. I guess she couldn't be dying yesterday if she was murdered in the movie. But we can all agree that Sigourney Weaver was hot in that. All right. It's 7:25 WMAL. Just forget everything we just discussed. Coming up, Byron York will join us for the Washington Examiner and give us the latest on the behind-the-scenes negotiations on the government shutdown. Keep it here.
WMAL-FM, Woodbridge, Washington, a Cumulus media station. Making sense of the news. News Talk 105.9. WMAL. News now. Now on 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app. O'Connor and Company.
It's 7:36. It's O'Connor and Company. Day 2 of the government shutdown, and we're with you. 8:05 brings us Alex Pfeiffer. Find out what his reporting tells him about whether there's a resolution coming up anytime soon. It's Larry O'Connor with Carrie Lukas, of course, of Independent Women's Forum, Independent Women's Voice, Independent Women's Network, Independent. There's just a lot of independent women over there, Carrie.
There sure are.
We like our women independent.
All right.
I mean,
we definitely do.
Not so much as
Within
that they go.
reason,
Yeah,
right?
we don't want them going
exactly.
off and living with gorillas or anything, but unless you're Sigourney Weaver, which, by the way, has nothing to do with Jane Goodall.
Exactly. Who knew?
Joining us right now is Byron York of the Washington Examiner. Byron, don't ask questions. Just trust me. It's all in the past, the Jane Goodall thing. Thanks for being here.
Good morning, guys.
Byron, oftentimes, listen, you've been reporting on these government shutdowns. I guess you were reporting on the ones in the 90s, weren't you, Byron, as a young cub reporter?
Long time ago, yeah. Mm-hmm.
And oftentimes, the battle isn't really about, legislation or funding. It's a battle of messaging, talking points, politics, and who's winning over the people through the media. And I got to say, for the first time in my lifetime, it appears as though on day one, the Republicans seem to have the upper hand there. Or am I just being a cheerleader here for my team?
Well, you may be being a cheerleader just a little bit.
Well, that's why you're here.
Well, we've seen some polling that indicates perhaps more people are blaming Democrats, are blaming Republicans for the shutdown, which I attribute simply to muscle memory. Republicans always get blamed for these things.
Yeah.
But actually, I've been trying to kind of figure this one out, and this is what I do think. Shutdowns usually involve one side saying this policy preference of ours is so important that we will not allow the government to continue unless we address it. And then the other side says, no, let's just pass a bill, keep the government going, and then we can talk about your policy question. Well, it's the side that attaches conditions to keeping the government open that loses in the shutdown. And right now, that's Democrats. The Republicans have offered a very clean continuing resolution, pretty much what Democrats have voted for in the past. And it is the Democrats who are claiming that we must continue this so-called emergency spending from the COVID era. We must make that permanent or continue it for years more before we will allow the government to remain open. So I think ultimately, by attaching these conditions to keeping the government open, Democrats are going to lose in this shutdown.
Byron, that makes a lot of sense. I think that probably as the American people, if this goes on for several days, I think the Democrats' case is going to get weaker and weaker because people are going to learn more about the facts of what this debate is now. What is the next? Where do you see this going? Is there another drop dead date that might precipitate something, or what do you think are the prospects?
Well, I think the difference, what could be the difference in this, is the presence of Russell Vought, the head of OMB, who has worked many years to try to reduce government spending and to shrink the size of government. And this gives him an opportunity to do that. And he's going to take it. And he's already holding up some funding money for blue states because of the shutdown. And the White House is talking about actual layoffs, meaning permanent layoffs, reduction in size of the federal government workforce. as a result of this. So the question is, knowing that their party is the one that's holding this up, how many Democrats are just going to dig in for the long run if vote and Republicans and the Trump administration begin to reduce the size of the federal government? My guess is the Democratic cave comes fairly quickly.
Yeah, I think you're very wise, as usual, Byron, to bring up Russ Vought's role in this, because I think when he saw the funding deadline go by on at midnight on October 1st, he said, hey, don't threaten me with a good time. You know, this is a guy who's got he's got spreadsheets in his brain right now that he can access of all the things that he would love to cut in the federal government. It's what his life's work has been. So given that, let's say he does go through with layoffs in certain agencies. My favorite stat always when there's a government shutdown is that 92% of the EPA is non-essential. I mean, that would be a great place to start. This is what happens. The executive branch has a lot of power at moments like this. Will the courts uphold any layoffs that the executive branch puts in?
Hey, you got me. I have no idea what the courts would end up doing, but clearly the administration has the power to do it in the short run. And when people, what this shutdown is about the continued growth of government. Go back to 2010. Obamacare is passed. Remember, it wasn't as big as Democrats wanted. They wanted even more, but they didn't have the political support to make it even bigger. One prominent Democrat called Obamacare a starter home. It's the kind of thing you buy, it's affordable, then you add a room, and then you add another room, and then you add a new bathroom, and you do all this stuff, and you add to it over the years. That's what Democrats wanted to do. But they did not have control of the White House, the House, and the Senate again until 2021, the beginning of Joe Biden's term. And they immediately set out to start expanding Obamacare.
Yeah.
And there happened to be a crisis at the time, the COVID pandemic. And they used the COVID pandemic as the rationale for enormously expanding the tax credits given to people who get health insurance policies through Obamacare. But they only made it effective for about a year because, hey, it's an epidemic.
Right, temporary emergency for the pandemic, right.
Right, and then so they originally expanded these things in the American Rescue Plan, which was that $1.9 trillion bill that Biden passed right when he entered office. And then in 2022, when they were going to run out after the temporary measure, they expanded them again in the Inflation Reduction Act all the way to the end of 2025. Well, we're about there. That's what this fight is about, because Democrats want to make these temporary emergency measures permanent, which has been the great worry of conservatives over the years, which is that you take temporary emergency spending, which goes up an enormous amount, and then that becomes the new baseline for all spending in the future. And that's what this shutdown fight is about.
Thank you for clarifying things for us, as always.
You're
Byron
welcome.
We'll keep watching your X feed as well as your byline at Washington Examiner, as we always do. We'll talk to you soon.
Thank you, guys.
It's 7:44.
WMAL's Vince Coglianese, weekdays at noon on 105.9 WMAL, making sense of the news.
Carrie Lukas, it seems like we've watched the rapid deterioration of Western civilization shot through the eyes of the people of England over the last couple of years here, where recently we've seen these stories where British citizens are being arrested and detained and sentenced for making comments on Facebook or for waving their own national flag, actually. The Union Jack and the English St. George's Cross flag have become symbols of defiance and protest in their own country.
Unbelievable.
It's sad to see. And today it's turned to tragedy as there has been a terror attack at a British synagogue on this Yom Kippur observance, by the way. At least 4 have been injured in a stabbing vehicle attack in Manchester, according to police. 2 people are dead, as I just mentioned. This happened early this morning. Jewish people, of course, are marking this holiday as it really is the holiest day on the calendar, Yom Kippur, the Day of Atonement. Police said the suspect was shot by officers, appeared to also have and appears to have died. A bomb disposal unit was deployed to the scene in case he had incendiary devices. He drove the car into the facing of the synagogue and then came out starting to stab people.
Yeah, and Larry, I don't want to get ahead of ourselves here and jump to any conclusions, but it seems like this is an obvious anti-Semitic attack.
Yeah.
It's specifically targeting the Jewish community on, as you said, the holiest day. And it's interesting. Prime Minister Keir Starmer has said in a public statement, quote, "We will do everything to keep our Jewish community safe."
Well, it sounds like he's jumping to a quick conclusion on that.
Exactly.
So I think it's fair to say that this was an anti-Semitic.
Exactly. And most likely it's from a radical Islamist, which have been increasingly empowered in the UK and really throughout the EU. And in some ways, obviously this can happen anywhere. It's a terrible reality. But it's a little bit with the prime minister saying he'll do everything to keep our Jewish community safe. I think that toothpaste is out of the tube.
It's a little late.
Yeah, it's a little late.
Yeah.
He has absolutely green-lighted the most radical Islamist regimes throughout the country and really allowed some terrible cultural practices, including anti-Semitism, including anti-women practices to fester and become cultural norms.
And by the way, Starmer says, this took place on Yom Kippur, the holiest day of the calendar. It makes it horrific. My thoughts are with the loved ones and those affected. As you said, we'll do our best to protect the Jewish community. The local member of parliament says that this is an appalling attack on the holiest day of the Jewish year. A dreadful attack designed to damage the Jewish community. Nowhere in their public announcements or from the police do they mention the name or ethnicity or affiliation of the murderer, of the terrorist, as if that's kind of a big part of the story.
Absolutely.
And it's part of the problem over there that they're not facing the problem head on and saying what's going on.
And this is, honestly, when you look at what's happened in the UK and especially with the rape gangs, and this is something that the UK is just really now coming to reckon with, really thanks to Elon Musk on X and some other powerful advocates, calling for transparency. But what we're learning is just the absolute horrific and disgusting shying away from addressing a problem where young British girls were being exploited by Pakistani men, and purely out of a concern for being offensive to that population, where, my goodness, this is... Yeah.
Is there anything more offensive than saying, we really can't blame because you know how those people are.
Exactly.
This is part of their culture.
Right.
Part of their culture is raping people.
Yeah,
perhaps that's a problem.
10-year-olds.
Yeah, it's and for Jewish Americans who are observing Yom Kippur right now, they will not learn of this until sundown tonight. As of course, if they're observant in an Orthodox fashion, they've got their electronic devices turned off. And how horrible is it going to be this evening at sundown when they see it? So keep your friends in your prayers, and we certainly will watch the United Kingdom and hope that they can come back from the brink. Sometimes it takes a jarring event like this to actually shock the system back to where they need to be.
Yeah.
It's 7:55.